I should come up sometime, see me. I'm home every evening.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 classic Hollywood stars who fell off the map.
It wasn't that you just decided to quit, you just kind of tapered off, is all.
For this list, we're looking at the most notable cases of stars from the 1920s to the 1960s that lost their popularity, stopped acting, and/or left the business altogether. Did we forget another performer that could have made this list? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. Peter Lawford. When Peter Lawford married Patricia Kennedy, his life as a promising actor became infinitely more interesting.
You like to explain that, Professor?
No, it's simple. By turning money into power.
His connections in the political and entertainment world got him an invitation into the Rat Pack. With Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, Lawford is most remembered as being one of the members of the iconic showbiz group.
The percentage is with the people who are rigging the game, and in this case, it's us.
After Sinatra broke ties with the actor, the latter effectively left the team, and his film role started to dwindle. Despite some contributions in big titles, his work was never quite the same after the 1960s, with divorces and substance use disorder adding to his professional problems.
Have you anything to say?
Yes, Your Worship. I would like to ask for time to pay. As our assets are frozen, things are a bit tight.
Number 9. Priscilla Lane. Starring alongside the likes of co-stars such as Cary Grant, Priscilla Lane had a moment in the spotlight as a promising leading lady. Her ability to juggle comedy and drama made her a unique presence in Hollywood.
Who are you?
I think I told you. A working girl on her day off.
Don't kid me. What are you doing here?
It's rather a long story, Mr. Fry.
Classics like Arsenic and Old Lace represented just one facet of her versatile work, while she also collaborated with the likes of Alfred Hitchcock. Following her marriage in 1942, Lane only made a few more films before turning her attention to family.
So your family's crazy, so you're crazy. That's the way I want you, that's the way I love you. I'm crazy too, but kiss me.
Her retirement included moving to the East Coast, a focus on her kids, and living a rather quiet, devout life. She never returned to motion pictures and sadly passed away in 1995 after many decades out of the spotlight.
It's a free country. A girl can change her mind, can't she?
Sure she can.
Number 8. Harold Lloyd. Next to Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd was another important silent comedian. His work includes classics such as The Freshman and the iconic Safety Last. The latter film features the famous sequence of Lloyd dangling from a clock. Like many cinematic talents that established themselves before the sound era, he had a hard time fully adjusting to the new landscape of the industry.
His sixth talkie lost more heavily than ever.
And I was terribly disappointed in it, and after it was released, I said to the boys, I am not going to start on another picture until we get an idea that I think has real merit behind it.
His efforts continued sporadically through the next few decades until around the 40s. Although he never returned to his former glory, the comedian would receive further recognition in his later years as audiences rediscovered his catalog.
Lloyd was justly proud of his career. He knew his films were as perfect as he could make them. Almost.
Number 7. Norma Shearer. With a film career that began in 1919, Norma Shearer saw many changes in Hollywood during her life. She transitioned into sound films as an acclaimed starlet at MGM Studios.
We've got to live our own life, dear. There's so much of it ahead. I'll never do anything you don't like. I'll never make you sorry, really.
Her performances spanned from an award-winning turn in The Divorcee to her part in the iconic ensemble of George Cukor's The Women.
Mary Haynes, what is all this?
I've had 2 years to grow claws, Mother. Jungle Red!
Inspiringly independent and liberated, Shearer's roles were among a wave of groundbreaking projects for women. She stopped taking on projects in 1942, and her popularity wavered in the following years. As the actress separated herself from the business, she chose to maintain a private life until her death in 1983.
Into the outside world, where you shall laugh, but not all of your laughter, and weep, but not all of your tears.
Number 6. TIPPI HEDREN.
Seriously, why do you have to rush off? What's so important in San Francisco?
Well, I have to get to work tomorrow morning, for one thing.
You have a job?
I have several jobs.
From modeling to starring in Alfred Hitchcock's widely acclaimed movie The Birds, Tippi Hedren's life changed rapidly in the early 1960s. This one role opened many doors for her in the industry, but at the same time, Hedren has been outspoken about Hitchcock being responsible for the subsequent tapering of her professional opportunities.
He said, "I'll ruin your career."
Wow.
I said, "Do what you have to do," and out the door I went.
And did he ruin your career?
Yes, he did.
A restrictive contract and Hitchcock allegedly trying to blacklist the actress made it so that she was not very popular after their two projects together, The Birds and Marnie. We've certainly seen her return to the screen in the years since, but no work ever garnered her quite the same recognition.
We just wanted to share this beautiful place. And now the town is looking at sub-clauses.
Number 5. George Raft. Even though he wasn't known as a typical leading man, George Raft still left his mark on American cinema.
You pick yourself a nice one. You get one for me?
Didn't have time.
Was there any trouble?
No, it was easy.
He frequented roles in gangster stories and film noir alongside greats such as Paul Mooney, Humphrey Bogart, and James Cagney. His roles as villains and anti-heroes also provided a template for his character in the classic comedy Some Like It Hot.
What's the rap this time?
Embalming people with coffee. 86 proof.
Me? I'm just a customer here.
Oh, come on, Spats. We know you own the joint.
Unfortunately, Raft saw fewer opportunities in the entertainment business after the 1950s. He made appearances in films after 1960, but his more successful working days were behind him as he was asked to play himself in multiple projects. His work typified the crime genre of early Hollywood, and while newer audiences might not know his name, cinephiles will forever remember his career.
For he's the jolly good fellow, for he's the jolly good fellow, for he's the jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny.
Number 4. John Garfield. Providing a bridge between formal and natural acting, John Garfield was arguably ahead of his time.
I could sell anything to anybody.
What you think.
He joined the ranks of Hollywood stars in the 1930s and 40s with a number of memorable performances, including his turn in The Postman Always Rings Twice, which is among his most revered. After refusing to name anyone at the House Un-American Activities Committee, Garfield was blacklisted from the movie industry.
Between the committee and the FBI, John Garfield had 3 or 4 opportunities to name names and save his career. Did he ever do it?
He refused. He refused to bend, just refused.
In the early 1950s, the actor tragically died from a heart attack at just 39 years old. He was unable to return to mainstream studio films, and many argue that his death was due in part to his career downturn.
You think I like the idea of waiting around for the whole world to make up its mind what to do with me? My mother don't understand.
What is it you want to do?
There's only one thing I know how to do.
Number 3. Shirley Temple. As one of the first child stars in Hollywood, Shirley Temple became a household name at a young age.
Someday I'm going to fly. I'll be a pilot too. And when I do, how would you like to be my crew?
Her films, such as HEDY, were a success in the 1930s. Talented beyond her years, Temple was especially prolific before she was even a teenager. She phased out of film acting in the 1940s during her teen years and largely retired from cinema by her 20s.
I didn't say I didn't want to see you.
Why, you did so. I asked you if you wanted to see Father or me, and you said your exact words, well, neither really.
After some TV work, the actress turned to business ventures and even diplomatic positions. Her prestigious jobs included being the U.S. ambassador to countries such as Czechoslovakia. While she didn't finish her career on screen, she definitely made a lasting impression in many other arenas.
She's opened a lot of doors for me, but if one doesn't perform the job and doesn't accomplish anything, then one can sit in a lovely house and look at old scrapbooks and be extremely lonely. I like to work.
Number 2. Hedy LAMARR. Before her journey to America, Hedy LAMARR starred in the controversial film Ecstasy. She would go on to appear in movies like Algiers after transitioning to Hollywood.
If you go now, there'll be no use in your coming back.
Well, you thought it all out pretty clearly, haven't you?
And I advise you to do the same.
All right. Goodbye.
During the 1930s and early 1940s, she became a known actress opposite the greatest stars of the day. This did not stop her from partaking in several hobbies outside the industry, including scientific invention. Her contributions to engineering included a breakthrough in radio technology for military use in World War II.
That basic idea of frequency hopping became part of what's known as spread spectrum. Spread spectrum is what's in all of our technology today. I mean, Bluetooth is probably the most purely similar to what HEDY LAMARR invented, and Wi-Fi too.
And by the end of the 1950s, the performer stepped away from acting altogether. LAMARR might not always get the proper recognition for her cinematic work, but she does have a spot in the National Inventors Hall of Fame.
I was different, I guess. Maybe I came from a different planet, who knows? But whatever it is, inventions are easy for me to do.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are some honorable mentions. Randolph Scott. This Western icon worked until the early 1960s before retiring from the entertainment business.
Better get Weird to catch up Billy's horse unless you want him to walk to Santa Cruz. You mean I can have him? Take him. I got no more use for him.
Clara Bow. Known as an it girl, the actress was a massive star in the 1920s before her retirement.
Very good. And may I add that if I had more time, I'd tell you about my pet fox, pet hawks, lambs, cattle, 25 dogs, and etc. But I haven't the time, so please excuse.
Mickey Rooney. With roots as a child star, this box office draw aged out of his most successful roles.
As years pass, simple pleasures aren't quite so simple to find. Myths and legends fall away.
Jane Russell. After starring in classics like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Russell explored music and TV.
I'll be gloomy, but send that rainbow to me then. My shadows will fly.
Mae West. This provocative star moved away from films to pursue a nightclub act and writing.
There isn't any fun in getting something done if you're rushed when you have to make the grade. I can spot an amateur, appreciate a connoisseur at his trade.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Greta Garbo. In a career spanning from the silent era to sound films, Greta Garbo was a major draw in the 1920s and 1930s. Her expressive face earned her starring roles at MGM.
How can you be so sure? You know me so little.
That's true. There's a mystery in you.
Is there not in every human being?
Famous for dramas, Garbo later spread her wings as a comedic presence in the acclaimed comedy Ninotchka. By the 40s, however, she was no longer receiving the same amount of attention for her projects. She retired in her mid-30s and never returned to the screen.
Are you really so heartless?
That was my ideal, but you wrecked it.
The actress has since been considered among the best performers of her generation, ranking high on AFI's list of the greatest female stars. She also received an honorary Oscar for her amazing work in film.
Don't make an issue of my womanhood. We're here for work, all of us. Let's not waste any time.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.